YouTube deleted this twice because of what's at 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Re-upload it before it's gone. If you've had unexplained symptoms and doctors found nothing, you're about to discover what's in your blood right now and why they won't test for it. Look at your last blood panel. Look at the date. You weren't just getting a checkup, you were being indexed. We are taught to believe that our bodies are our own, a private sanctuary governed by biology and deoxyribonucleic acid. But a leaked internal memo from a private diagnostic firm, known only as Reference Lab 97, suggests a different reality. This document, which surfaced on an encrypted server before being scrubbed from the surface web, details a specific chemical signature appearing in 97% of all blood screenings conducted across North America. It isn't a virus. It isn't a bacteria. It is a heavy metal isotope, specifically a variant of thallium, that should not exist in the human bloodstream in these concentrations. The chemical reality of this substance is what makes it so dangerous. Unlike common lead or mercury, which the body can eventually attempt to sequester in bone or fat, this isotope is engineered for perpetual circulation. It possesses a unique spectral fingerprint, a specific light absorption pattern that should be a screaming alarm on every spectrometer in the country. This substance does not bind to the liver for filtration. Instead, it mimics potassium, allowing it to bypass the blood-brain barrier with terrifying ease. Once inside, it lodges in the pineal gland and the motor cortex. It essentially replaces your natural electrolyte balance with a synthetic, conductive substitute. This isn't just about toxicity, it's about transformation. By replacing the potassium in your neural pathways, they are essentially replacing your internal wiring with a material that can be influenced by external electromagnetic fields. Yet, when you receive your blood work from your local clinic, this data is missing. It is being filtered out of patient-facing reports through a process the memo calls the reference range adjustment. In the world of medical diagnostics, a normal range is supposed to be based on healthy averages. But according to these leaked files, the authorities have been moving the goalposts. Every 12 months, the acceptable limit for this specific isotope is raised just enough to keep the general population within the green zone. If they used the safety standards from 1990, 97% of the population would be rushed to emergency rooms for acute toxicity. You feel it as brain fog, as a strange metallic taste in the back of your throat, or as a sudden, sharp exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. This exhaustion is not just mental fatigue, it is a physical drag on your cellular adenosine triphosphate production, caused by the heavy metal particles competing for the same receptors as your essential minerals. If you're feeling that exhaustion or that metallic taste right now, you aren't alone. You're just one of the few noticing the shift. They're moving the goalposts every 12 months to make sure you never see the red line on your own lab results. I am tracking these reference range updates in real time. Hit the subscribe button and turn on all notifications now. When the next adjustment drops, I'll be the one to tell you what they're actually hiding in your results before the algorithm scrubs this channel again. The mechanism is insidious. Because the isotope mimics potassium, your cells literally reach out and pull it inside, thinking they are absorbing a vital nutrient. Once inside the cell, the isotope disrupts the delicate electrical potential of the cell membrane. This is why you feel that internal vibration, or the electric skin sensation that doctors tell you is just anxiety. It isn't anxiety. It is the literal physical friction of a heavy metal lattice vibrating at a frequency your biology wasn't designed to handle. Your doctor looks at your chart and tells you that everything is normal. They aren't lying to you. They are reading a screen that has been programmed to lie to them. The diagnostic software has been updated with automatic baseline subtraction. This means the computer sees the spike, identifies it as the new normal, and removes it from the final graph before the doctor ever sees the red line. This is the initial anomaly, a systematic ghost in the machine of human health. But the filter isn't just in the software. It's in the water and the air we breathe. To understand the scale of this, we have to look at the hidden infrastructure of our municipal systems. For decades, water treatment was about filtration. Now, it is about fortification. In 1994, a quiet amendment was passed regarding the mineral standards of public utilities. While the public was told this was about dental health and bone density, the internal logistics tell a different story. I tracked a series of procurement orders for 500,000 metric tons of refined particulate matter that were distributed to treatment plants across the top 50 metropolitan areas. This wasn't calcium. This was a conductive substrate designed to remain in suspension within the human body for decades. This substrate is hydrophobic, meaning it avoids being excreted by the kidneys, effectively creating a permanent residence within your circulatory system. The logistics of this operation are staggering. We are talking about thousands of unmarked freight containers moving through our ports every month, labeled as industrial sediment or agricultural feed. These containers are bypass cleared by customs under a specific national security waiver that dates back to the mid-90s. If you check the plumbing of an older home, you will see a white, chalky buildup. That isn't just lime. If you take a magnet to that sediment, it will react. This is the delivery system. Every time you hydrate, every time you cook, you are reinforcing the lattice structure inside your own veins. The authorities call it a baseline. I call it a permanent biological anchor. The trail of this deception leads back to a specific moment in 1994, a year marked by a quiet, massive shift in how the National Library of Medicine categorizes what they call bioaccumulation of synthetic catalysts. If you search the archives today, you will find a gap. Hundreds of pages of research regarding the long-term effects of heavy metal conductivity in human tissue have been. This isn't a simple case of industrial pollution. Pollution is messy. It hits one town and misses the next. This isotope is uniform. It is consistent from Los Angeles to New York. As I dug deeper into the regulatory filings of the Food and Drug Administration, I found evidence of deliberate redactions in the safety trials for common additives. There are suspicious gaps in the paperwork, where the names of the lead researchers should be. Look at the red ink on the margin of these filings. The names weren't just removed, they were erased from the historical record. I tracked one of these researchers, a man who worked on the original baseline studies, to a small town in the Midwest. He refused to speak on camera. He looked at me with a hollowed-out expression and told me that the software used in every modern pathology lab has a built-in silent filter. This subroutine is hard-coded into the firmware of the machines themselves. He described a process called spectral masking. Essentially, the lab equipment is programmed to treat the isotope's specific light signature as background noise. If the machine doesn't report it, the doctor can't treat it. And if the doctor can't treat it, the patient remains a conductive vessel for the grid. He said he tried to report it once. Within 48 hours, his credentials were revoked and his pension was frozen. He was told that he was hallucinating a diagnostic ghost. But you don't lose your pension over a hallucination. You lose it for seeing the truth. The doctors aren't lying to you. The machines are programmed to ignore the truth. But your body doesn't have a silent filter. We need to document the physical reality they refuse to acknowledge. Go to the comments right now and type, "I feel the hum," if you've experienced that internal vibration or a metallic taste that doctors dismissed as anxiety. We are building a database of these anomalies that the firmware is designed to ignore. Your testimony is the only data they can't delete. The personal stakes for anyone touching this evidence are absolute. This is how the cover-up functions. Not through a massive conspiracy of every doctor and nurse, but through a centralized control of the tools they use to see. The doctors are as much victims as we are, prisoners of a rigged diagnostic interface. If the microscope is programmed to ignore the truth, the scientist is blind. The isotope is there, circulating in your veins, interacting with your nervous system, while the people paid to protect you are looking at a filtered reality. This filtered reality extends to the very air we breathe. Have you noticed the way the sky looks lately? Not the clouds, but the haze that lingers even on the clearest days? That is the secondary delivery vector. Atmospheric aerosol injection isn't a theory. It is a documented logistics operation used to ensure that even those who filter their water cannot escape the saturation. I wasn't the first person to find this coordinate. I was just the first one to come back. Behind this wall of silence sits a series of patents that should not exist. Patent number 7,285,000, registered to a shell corporation with links to the defense industry, describes a biocompatible microantenna array. The patent details how heavy metal isotopes can be synthesized into structures that nestle within the capillaries of the human brain. These aren't machines in the traditional sense. They are self-assembling molecular structures. They are essentially a smart dust that uses your own blood flow as a cooling system and your own nerve impulses as a power source. When you see the word synthetic catalyst in the medical literature, this is what they are talking about. It is a material that waits. It waits for a signal. It waits for the right environment. And according to the clinical trials that were never released to the public, that environment is created when the blood reaches a specific level of saturation, the 97% threshold. This threshold is critical because it marks the point where the particles are close enough together to begin a process called quantum tunneling. This is where the individual particles stop acting like separate pieces of metal and start acting like a single, giant antenna. This is why the reference ranges are being moved. They are ensuring that the entire population stays at a level of saturation where the biointerface is fully operational, yet just below the level that would cause immediate, catastrophic organ failure. They want you alive, and they want you saturated. The investigation took a turn when a specific set of shipping manifests pointed to a location that does not appear on any official United States Postal Service map. It is a series of industrial structures in a remote section of the Utah desert, officially designated as a seed storage facility for agricultural preservation. But seeds do not require 10,000 gallons of medical-grade ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid delivered every lunar cycle. Ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid is a powerful chelating agent, a heavy metal binder of the kind they use when your organs are literally vibrating from toxicity. Why would a seed bank need enough of it to treat a small nation? When I reached the perimeter of this facility, architecture spoke of a much darker purpose. There were no windows, only massive venting systems that hummed with a low-frequency vibration that you could feel in your teeth. This is a dark lab, a hub for the distribution of what the manifests call Phase 4 catalysts. Inside this facility, the layout isn't designed for scientists. It's designed for logistics. Massive vats of liquid suspension are connected to pressurized lines that feed directly into unmarked tanker trucks. In the abandoned administrative wing of a nearby decommissioned warehouse, I found physical proof: discarded human trial logs. These weren't agricultural records. They were medical charts, tracking the electrical conductivity of human subjects over a 10-year period. The logs revealed that the subjects weren't being treated for toxicity. They were being optimized for it. Each chart had a specific notation for resonant response. The researchers were measuring how well the subjects' nervous systems responded to specific radio frequencies once their blood reached peak saturation. I found a document titled Project Hum. It detailed how specific low-frequency waves could be used to induce voluntary compliance in test subjects by vibrating the isotopes lodged in the amygdala. This vibration creates a low-level, subconscious sense of dread or anxiety that makes people more likely to seek protection or guidance from authority figures. The logs showed a direct correlation between the introduction of these catalysts and the installation of high-output cellular towers in the surrounding areas. I found one log entry dated July 14, 2012, which noted a synchronized conductive response across a test group of 300 people during a local power grid test. Their heart rates all spiked at the exact same millisecond. They weren't reacting to a sound or a sight. They were reacting to a signal that vibrated their very blood. They are using your own blood as a receiver to induce compliance. This isn't just a video, it's a breach in their biological grid. As you're watching this, the Project Hum frequencies are likely being calibrated to make you feel the urge to click away and forget. Resist it. Click the share button immediately. Send this link via encrypted messenger or email it to 3 people you trust. We have to spread this signal faster than they can tune it out. If this video vanishes, ensure it lives on in your circles. The architecture of the facility wasn't designed for humans. It was designed for the processing of a new kind of biological asset. The metal isn't the poison. It's the hardware. As the sun set over the desert, the escalation reached a point of no return. The core secret isn't just that there is metal in your blood, it is why it was put there. This isotope isn't a byproduct of the modern world, it is a biointerface. It is conductive. Under specific electromagnetic frequencies, these particles don't just sit in your plasma, they assemble. I have seen the footage of raw blood samples exposed to high-frequency radio waves. The particles align into crystalline structures, forming a lattice network within the fluid. This is the defining secret of the 97%. We are being turned into receivers. This process is called frequency-induced assembly. In its natural state, the isotope is a harmless, free-floating particle. But when a specific frequency is broadcast, say from a cellular tower or a high-altitude satellite, those particles snap together like magnets. They form a wire-like structure that runs through your entire circulatory system. This is why some people report phantom pains or crawling sensations when they are near high-voltage power lines or cellular hubs. It isn't a delusion. It is your blood literally trying to organize itself into a circuit. This isn't a theory. It is a biological reality that raises existential questions about the future of human autonomy. If your blood can be manipulated by external frequencies, your physical state is no longer under your own control. You feel it in that metallic taste in your mouth, that resonant hum in your ears that doesn't go away. Think about the rise in unexplained neurological clusters, entire office buildings where people develop the same tremors, schools where the children all experience the same sudden cognitive decline on the same day. These are not coincidences. They are calibrations. When the high output towers are activated at a specific frequency, the heavy metal interface in your blood begins to vibrate. It creates a localized electromagnetic field inside your own skull. This is how they bypass the blood-brain barrier. This is how they influence the very impulses that dictate your mood, your energy, and your compliance. This influence is subtle. It doesn't tell you what to think. It simply adjusts the emotional frequency through which you process information. It makes you more susceptible to fear, more prone to fatigue, and less likely to question the narrative being fed to you through the very screens you are watching right now. Consider the echo chamber effect. We usually think of it as a social media phenomenon. But what if it's biological? If 1,000 people in a room are all tuned to the same frequency via the metal in their blood, they will experience the same emotional reaction at the same time. This creates a collective resonant state that makes a crowd almost impossible to stop or incredibly easy to lead. This is the point of no return. Once the saturation reaches 97%, the lattice becomes self-sustaining. It doesn't need to be replenished as often. It simply needs to be maintained through the food and water supply. This is why the global rollout of high-frequency communications infrastructure has been so aggressive. They aren't building a faster internet for your benefit. They are building the control panel for the biological grid that have already installed inside of you. Every cellular tower is a tuning fork, and your blood is the string. The evidence suggests an immediate danger that goes beyond simple toxicity. We are talking about the integration of the human biological system into a global electronic grid. As I recorded these findings, I realized I was being watched. A series of black vehicles remained stationed at the edge of the property, not moving, just waiting. They weren't there to arrest me. They were there to ensure I didn't take anything physical from the site. But the most dangerous thing I took was the data. The sense of danger became physical. This is the climax of the investigation. The moment where the curiosity of the researcher meets the cold reality of the forces of secrecy. They aren't trying to hide the metal anymore. They are just waiting for the network to be fully activated. The immediate investigation may have ended with my departure from that desert, but the aftermath is just beginning. The resolution is not a happy one. The truth is that the same conglomerate of companies responsible for the distribution of these isotopes is the same one that manufactures the medications for the symptoms they cause. It is a closed-loop system of profit and control. You are born into it, you are fed into it, and you within it. They sell you the water that saturates you, the software that ignores the saturation, and that manage the interface's side effects. It is the most perfect business model ever conceived because the customer doesn't even know they are a product. They have commodified the very blood in your veins. This is the ultimate privatization of the human body. By saturating us with conductive isotopes, they have essentially turned our biology into intellectual property. If your nervous system is running on their synthetic catalysts, do you still own your own thoughts? The legal implications are terrifying. There are clauses in the fine print of modern medical insurance policies that speak of proprietary biological integration. This is the legalese for owning the metal in your blood. The lingering questions are what keep me awake. If 97% of us are already carrying this interface, what happens when the switch is finally flipped? What happens when the reference range is moved so high that we are no longer biologically human, but merely biological extensions of a technological grid? The authorities have already begun the process of silencing the reach of this information. They don't need to dissenters if they can simply erase the digital footprint of the truth. They are using the very interface we discussed to track who is watching this content. Your heart rate, your pupil dilation, your engagement, it's all being fed back into the grid. Every time you pause this video to process a thought, a signal is sent. They know who is beginning to see the filter. They know who is waking up. The Conspiracy is far from over. It is entering its final phase. The infrastructure is in place. The saturation is complete. The only thing left is the broadcast. As you sit there, feeling that slight tremor in your hands or that fog in your mind, remember that you are not imagining it. Your blood is a witness to a crime that has been committed against the entire human race. They have changed our baseline. They have rewritten our biology. They've rewritten your biology, but they haven't turned the network on yet. You still have time to look for the exit, but you have to stop trusting the screen that lied to you. They are betting that you are too tired, too sick, and too distracted to ever do anything about it. They want you to stay in the green zone of their adjusted reference ranges, a happy, conductive, and compliant component of their machine. The truth is the only antidote we have left, but even that is being filtered out of the world, one page at a time. The data suggests we are no longer just inhabitants of this world, but components within a system that was never meant for our benefit. If you feel the weight of this silence and refuse to look away, subscribe to this channel and share this investigation through encrypted channels before the digital walls close in. We need your perspective in the comments. What have you noticed in your own history that the official record failed to explain? Have you felt the hum? Have you tasted the metal? The architects of this baseline are counting on your exhaustion to keep the interface hidden. But remember, once you know how to see the filter, you can never go back to being blind. The silence itself is becoming the loudest warning. We'll be watching the signals. See you in the next one.